Yeah. Where's your stuff?
All right, so I am going to officially start. As I was saying, welcome everyone. I am letting you know that the meeting is also recorded so that persons who are having connectivity issues and is unable to attend maybe this session will be able to access the recording that will be posted on the YouTube channel. I also post these recordings in the WhatsApp group. So once you are a part of the Art Connect class, you will be given the opportunity to see the pre-recordings, so you can catch up on any classes that you might have missed out on for whatever reasons. All right, with that said, I'm going to continue. All right, so we're in week 3 and we're looking at drawing and composition. Last week we looked at shading technique, specifically stippling, right? And persons who are at class were given the opportunity to explore the stippling technique. Now we're just going to look at composition and how to create a composition and what are the rules and guidelines on how you go about creating a composition. So let us watch this video, please. All right, so what you just watched is composition and the demonstrator putting or applying the different values based on the shading techniques. So we are going to further break down how you go about applying your compositional rules and the different shading techniques. All right. Now, before we dive into that, I know persons were here last class. I'm just going to give them the opportunity just to share with the others what they did, just to share some of their drawings at this point. So we're just going to take a few minutes to share what we did. Nico, are you here? Not sure if she's hearing me. Aniko? All right. Let me just give her a minute. I'm going to text her in the chat. Just give us a minute. All right, you can also post it in the WhatsApp group if you're not able to share it here, so persons can be privy to seeing what you did the last class. Is Joanna online? I'm not seeing her. Alan? All right, so I am going to post some of the subjects that we looked at last week, so person can be familiar with what we discussed. All right, so let me go ahead. You can check the WhatsApp chat. I'm just going to repost what we did. All right, so we started. I just sent the image of one of the subjects that we looked at based on the shading technique. All right, so stippling was a technique that we looked at last week. Let me quickly. All right, here we go. All right, can everyone see that image?
Yes, miss.
All right, can you just
Yes,
tell me what you're seeing? Tell me what you're looking at. Just give me a description.
a composition of dots and lines.
Very good. So stippling is basically a type of shading technique or drawing technique which you use lines, dots to create values or tones. All right. So if you check the WhatsApp group, I think this is Paige. Paige, this is your work, right?
Pardon?
Yes, I'm seeing a stippling drawing here sent in the chat.
Is
So
it a sunflower?
yes, it is a sunflower. That's yours, right?
Yeah. Yes, it
Yes.
is.
Great. So I'm seeing that you're exploring. What medium did you use? Is it a pencil or marker?
I use a pencil.
Great. All right. So I am seeing here. Okay, I understand, Kadeen. So I know the challenges, everyone. This is why I try to have the engagement on multiple platforms. So if your camera is not working online, this is why I opt for persons to send their work in the WhatsApp group as well. So I can also have everyone participate and to see what you are doing, regardless of the challenges, because we know we have them. All right. So stippling, as we know, is, as I said before, is using dots, right? Clusters of dots when you want to have a dark tone or dark value. And if you want to show light tones or light value, you use less dots, or you spread them further apart. All right, so that's one way in which you can shade, and you can use pen, pencil, even markers and paint. So here's another stippling technique that we looked at. And these subjects were done using markers and paint as well, right? Can you draw with paint? Yes, you can use what we call washes, or use application. So the cotton swab that we usually use um, in our ears are to do cleaning in terms of, on your body for hygienic reasons. We can use them to create stippling as well. So if we remove one end of the cotton swab, we now have this area here that we can dip into paint and create dots or stipples from it. All right, so that is another way. So you can use marker, as I said, cotton swab, the tip of it, and paint brushes to create the stippling. All right, so this is a very fun shading technique. It is, you have to have patience. You really develop your patience once you are doing it. And that is what we looked at last class. I am going to send the YouTube video in the group so that those persons who did not get the chance to watch it or to be a part of the lesson would be able to see what we did. All right. Now we're going to break down the composition and how you go about creating composition. So let you watch this video right now. All right, so this video is basically talking about still life composition, how you choose your subjects or objects, right? So choose just a few objects that you find usually visually pleasing. Even better if they have something in common. For example, item from your kitchen. So if you're creating a still life item, um, you wouldn't put a football with a drinking glass, right? You try to put the things that are relevant in one space. So if you're putting an onion, then you can put a pot or a jar or something that is related to the kitchen. Similarly to maybe your bedroom, maybe you put a cushion, right? You could put maybe one of the things that you utilize in the bedroom space, maybe your bed slippers, right? So your composition should be based on a theme or related subjects or objects, all right? And as it said, still life is the arrangement of inanimate objects that are drawn or painted, so they don't move on their own.
Out there, so let's skip over that. We're just going to focus on a few, but what I do want to remind you is that these principles of design that we talk about all the time are all about composition. So just note that, because these are going to come back in the discussion in like 2 minutes. So let's look at still lifes. You can see that the composition on the left right here is pretty boring. Everything's flat, right? Whereas the composition on the right creates this triangle effect with the eye. What this does is it helps the viewer's eye move around the page so it doesn't get stuck anywhere. Whereas right here, your eye kind of goes back and forth and back and forth, and it's just not interesting and it doesn't fill this space properly. So, in order to make a good composition, there's actually a lot that's involved in this. So, let's go over that. If you took photography, a lot of these terms are going to sound super familiar to you. So, there's an open composition, which means that you have space around your objects, just like this. And then there's a closed composition, which is where your objects fall off of the page or off out of the frame. This is awesome. Everybody's so scared to let things fall off the page or come out of the frame. Don't be scared of it. Let things fall off the edges, okay? So there's bird's eye view. Imagine you're a bird looking down on your subject. That's as simple as that. Also, glasses and see-through objects are great for still lifes. And even filling them with water is super cool too. Leading lines or diagonals. So you can see that the wood in this table, it leads your eye back to the bowl of cherries. This, by the way, is an excellent still life. You can see that this block of wood and the wrinkles in the fabric lead your eye back. Whereas right here, it's the objects in the frame that lead your eye back out of the picture frame or to the back of the picture frame. So leading lines and diagonals are really important. Ant's perspective. So picture you're an ant and you're crawling along on the table and you look up. Oh, here's Ant's perspective. Everybody's got pencils at home. This could be your composition. It's as simple as that. Here's 3 objects, ooh, and then even some pencil shavings. And here's a box of pizza with Pepsi. These objects go well together. That is a perfect Ant's perspective. It's also kind of a macro shot, which means that it's like enlarged as though you're looking at it.
All right, so that short clip, I'm going to play it again, but it really speaks about how you can approach composition or different types of composition. They spoke about open and closed composition. I'm just going to bring it back to that one so you have a better understanding.
Out there, so let's skip over that. We're just going to focus on a few. But what I do want to remind you is that these principles of design that we talk about all the time are all about composition. There's a closed composition.
All right, so what do you notice about the open and closed composition? I'm going to ask you to do your own in a short. So we're going to take 5 minutes and you're going to capture subjects that are related. You're going to put them on a table or a surface and you're going to take pictures of a composition. Now, compositions are the plans for artists. So whatever you're going to draw or paint, you create the plan for it. It's just like building a house. You would have a plan for the house. You would actually have how you want the house to structure. If it's going to be 2 stories, 3 stories, things like that. Where you're going to put the stage, right? We're going to have the windows. So the composition is the artist's plan for the actual artwork. So you have open composition versus closed composition. Are you seeing this, everyone?
Yes, miss.
All right.
Miss.
So
Yes,
I am
miss.
going to ask first. You're just going to select one and you're going to create a composition, whether it's the open one, closed one, and you're going to share the image with us. You can put it in the WhatsApp group or you can share your screen. So I'm going to give everyone 5 minutes to just do this one. You're going to remember it must be related. So any subjects that you're using, 3 subjects. Go ahead, I'm seeing a hand.
Okay, miss. I'm just joining and I was wondering which WhatsApp group are you talking about?
Oh, you're not in the WhatsApp group?
No,
Send me your
miss.
number. Send me your number in the chat now. So while everyone is doing that, I'm going to add you to the group. All right?
Okay, miss.
All right, great. Did everyone get the instructions?
Miss, may you repeat, please?
Okay, sure. Great. So you're going to create what we call a composition. And I was explaining that the composition is the artist plan for drawing, right? So you're going to set up 3 items, 3 subjects. That's what we call them in art. And you're going to arrange them on a surface. You're going to take the picture of them. If you notice, the image on the left has a group, all the subjects together, versus the one you're going to find that they're grouped in 2. Then you have one to the right, and some of the image, the subject is cropped, so they're falling off the picture plane, so they're at the edge of the camera or the picture itself. All right. Are you seeing the image?
Yes, Miss.
All right. So 5 minutes, just group your subjects, take a picture of it based on the open or closed. Yes, Eve.
Most like the picture that we're seeing, can it be the same things?
If you have fruits, yes, you can. But I was saying that once you're creating a composition, remember that the demonstrator said before that it's visually pleasing when you create subjects or your composition based on subjects that are related, based on a theme. So if we're looking at sports, what would be some of the subject that you would select?
Miss, a ball,
Yes,
a bat.
most definitely. So, and maybe all those sports equipment can be a part of it, right? If you were doing a theme based on cooking, what were some of the subjects would put in that?
Pot, knife, onion, the things that you're going to use to cook.
Awesome, right? So you get the idea, right?
Okay, Miss.
Great. So you're going to set up your composition and you're going to make the arrangement. So you're going to, whether it's an open composition or a closed composition. So these are the 2 examples, and you're going to tell me which one you did. And you post it in the WhatsApp group if you are unable to share, and I'm going to ask persons to share as well, just to see that you got the understanding. All right. So let me allow you to do that now. If there's any other question, please let me know. All right, how is it going? Is everyone gathering the items? Good morning, Giselle.
Morning.
All right, so we are looking at composition, and I asked everyone to create a composition, whether it's open composition versus closed composition. Are you able to see the presentation now?
Yes.
All right, so closed composition is when the subjects are close together. The open composition, if you notice, they are within the picture space. So they are within the space itself. Now the closed composition, the subjects are falling off the edge of the plane. So if you're taking a picture, it's almost like you're cropping, right? You're cropping the subjects and they're now falling on the edge of that picture plane. So that's what we're doing. And I gave everyone 5 minutes. So in the next 2 minutes, I will be checking to see what we have produced. I'm multitasking at the moment because I know persons who are online is not in the group. So I'm just trying to balance everything here. All right.
Okay.
So Sapphire, I just added you to the group.
Okay, thank you, Miss.
You're welcome. So you can now post your pictures there once you have taken them. For those persons I added afterwards, I'm just going to put the 2 previous Art Konnect class, so later you can go ahead and watch them.
Excuse me, Miss.
Yes, Jasmine.
Miss, I'm gonna send the number in the chat. I was asking if you could add it to the WhatsApp group, please.
Sure. All right, so go ahead. Let me just do that right now while everyone is taking their pictures. All right, so I see the numbers. I'm going to go ahead and add them. All right. All right, did we take the pictures? Do we still need a little time? All right, so I'm seeing page image here. All right, great. Identify which one you're using. Is it the open composition or closed? So you can just caption it so I can see that you understand what we're doing.
Miss,
Yes.
Miss, you can use any subject or object.
You can use it, make sure it relates to a particular theme. That's why we're looking at sports and some of the things that would be aligned with sports. If we're looking at cooking, some of the things that would relate to cooking and so on, right? If we're looking at air, you know that probably in your composition you would have a comb, you would have, you know, hair clips and things like that. So the subject should be related. All right, very good. So I'm seeing pages composition here. All right, so I am still, let me just quickly add Jasmine number that she sent. Let me go ahead and do that. 398. Jasmine, you're already in the group. The 398 number is already in the group.
Okay, Miss.
Yes. I'm going to check the other one. All right, so the other one is not in the group, so I'm going to add that one as well. All right, so I'm waiting for the other image. Anyone ready to share with us? I'm seeing pages, subjects. All right. All right, great. So Eve, I'm seeing yours. Can you do it upright for me? Instead of standing over it, you notice the apples, the pears that are here in the image, they are actually upright. It's almost like they're in front of you and you're taking them, on the surface. So similar to what you have here. So rest them on the surface and you would hold your camera like this and you take the picture. Can everyone see what I'm doing?
Yes, miss.
So your subject would be on the surface and then you would take your picture holding the camera. Don't stand and, hover over it. So that would when we're looking at a bird's eye view perspective on a composition, but we just want to see how you go about taking the picture based on the open composition or the closed composition. So you hold your device like this and you take them. All right. So take over that one for me. You don't have to delete them because we're learning as we go. All right.
Miss, is that one
There.
better?
Yes. What's that? Is ear oil? The
Yes,
can,
ma'am.
the cylinder that you have, the container. Put it upright. All right. So I'm seeing Giselle's subjects, crayons. Yes, very good. Safara is very good. So I'm seeing which one is open composition? Very good. Yeah. Right. All right. So Giselle, for the closed composition, is it the couch that you're cropping? I'm assuming it's a couch. Some of the crayons will be cropped. So the subject itself would be cropped and not the object around it, not the surface. All right. So Eve fix that one. And then we can move forward. But this can also stay because this also give you another type of composition in which we're going to be looking at. But this is very good. Much better. Very good. This is very good. All right. All right. So I am just going to show everyone, those persons who are unable to. Let me just bring up some of the images that you posted. I'm just loading them. Give me a minute. All right, so I'm just sharing what persons have, submitted as their composition. So this one is Page, Harriet Page, submitted this one. So very good. And we could give this a theme just the very same, right? So if we're looking at a theme based on education, right, or reading, then these would be your subjects. All right, so let's look at the others. All right, so I've seen where Eve sent this one and she have made improvements. I like this if we're looking at it from a different eye level. All right, so the compositions are coming in. So the close one for this Giselle, you can now crop the image, the composition itself, so parts of it would fall off. So for example, if I zoom in, parts of the composition would fall. So some of the crayons here, they would fall off the picture or the picture plane. All right, I would zoom in and parts of it would fall off. So that's what I'm talking about. All right, is that clear? All right, so let's just look at another one. All right, so this is very good. This is an open composition. So if you notice, the subjects are fitting within the picture space, right? So that's a closed composition. Here's another closed composition that was submitted, and I see that she was working out her composition and ideas. All right, very good. So this is also for Samantha. So if you notice, this could be on the farming, plants, nature, right? In terms of a theme. Very good, Samantha. All right. Great. This is very good, Jasmine. This is wonderful. And we notice the composition, the subjects are relating. They're all relating here. Very good. We all now understand how it is to create a composition. This is for Tamika. This is really nice.
No, Miss Joanna.
Oh, Joanna. Very good. So this is another composite. Yes. And the theme could be writing. If you notice, she put a little theme right there. Wonderful. So we understand about open and closed composition. And that is what I wanted to see. Right? So everyone understand about that. So composition, as we said, it is the artist's arrangement in how you go about preparing for the actual artwork. So whether you're going to draw it or paint it, it is what you plan for, right? Very good, everyone. So we're moving on. All right, so this is just going to reinforce what you just did. All right, go ahead.
If I put my cup on that side, it's not going to get any light. So I either need to bring the cup forward or put it on this side. So try to make sure each of your objects gets a little bit of light. Sorry, this is a wiggly video. I'm going to play with placement to try to make sure I get that triangle of view. I think I want a closed composition, meaning things are going off the paper. I'm going to pretend I'm taking a picture here, so pretend to click. I love the overlapping of the objects. I think that creates a nice sense of depth. Whereas if I was to raise this and move the objects apart, see how now they're just all separate floating objects? Having objects in front of each other kind of connects them and ties them together. So here are my photos. You can see I took a lot. I'd recommend you do the same. Take at least, I always say take 20 photos and maybe one will be good. So maybe that is the trick. You can see that I just changed my angle slightly, kind of played around with a few things. I wanted to show you guys how some objects just don't work well together. So here I've got these. You can see that obviously they have a common theme, but it's really flat. So I tried Ant's perspective, and it did get more interesting. I do see that triangle of view, and the foreshortening is interesting, but not as cool as that. After you take all your photos, find your favorite using all those compositional elements that were discussed earlier, and that's going to be your reference for your still life drawing. Then you're going to lightly sketch your objects. So, you guys, the photo that you took should be stared at the entire time that you're sketching your objects for accuracy. You can't memorize the exact shape of your object, so you have to stare at your photo. It's essential. We actually used to be looking at objects in real life before everybody had a camera on their cell phone. Now, if you're feeling like, geez, this might be really hard to sketch these objects, these videos right here that are linked are really great YouTube videos.
All right, so as you can see, when you plan for your composition or you plan for your drawing, you can now arrange them and take multiple pictures of it. You don't have to take 20 as she mentioned, but at least 3 or 5 is good enough. So you can change the angle, change up the arrangement based on those compositional rules. And we just looked at 2, open and close. There are several out there. I'm going to also post some others in the WhatsApp group so you can see some other rules and guidelines. So we have bird's eye view, we have leading lines, we have rules of odds, but we're going to just work with the close and open composition just for today. All right, so art activity. So now we are going to dive into our activity, right? For the activity, I'm going to ask you to gather these materials, art materials. So your drawing book, plain paper, and alternative resource is the old calendar. So the back of the old calendars, we can utilize them if we don't have these things ready at hand. But you were told to get your drawing book or a couple plain papers each time you come to class. Now for the final projects, I'm going to ask you to get a white cartridge paper, and we're going to use quarter sheet of it. So we have 1 sheet of cartridge paper, you cut it, you fold it in half, and you fold that half in half again. You should have quarter. Now here I have my drawing book. So this size is very good. I also use different sizes as long as you have a drawing book with you. It keeps all your works together, so you can always go back and to see where you're coming from, right? The types of lines you have made and so on, right? So you can always have your drawing book at hand. Different sizes are good. Your pencils, right? Markers. So I'm going to give you another 5 minutes just to gather those material if you have not done so. Those persons who have them already beside them, that is very good. So I'm still giving the others the opportunity just to get those art materials. Is 5 minutes okay?
Yes, miss.
All right, so gather those and let me know when once you are
Yes,
back.
ma'am.
Text in the chat. If you have them, just let me know, and then I can continue from there.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, I'm here. You're not hearing me?
Do we have to have everything that's on the screen?
No, you don't. You can start off. Do you have a drawing surface? Maybe a drawing book or plain paper?
I do have a drawing book.
Great. Do you have a pencil?
Yeah.
We can start off with that or pencil crayon.
But I don't have a marker.
You can have that for next class. That's okay.
Can I use a crayon instead?
You can use a crayon instead. So you can just have one of the drawing tool for now based on the activity. So your drawing surface, as I said, your plain paper. You can use your pencil crayons, right? You just get your pencil crayons and that's it, or your drawing pencil. Now, if you have the regular pencil, that's okay. That's HB. I'm going to be using 4B. So I have this 4B pencil here and I have another 4B. But if you don't have 4B, 2B, 6B, the regular HB is fine.
I have two HB.
Great. Right?
It's
And then you can
this
choose any color from your pencil crayon based on what we're going to be doing now. All right? Is everyone back now? Can we continue? Have we all returned? So raise your hands if you're ready. Let's give it a raise and use the icon so I can know. All right, so I'm just seeing Eve and Samantha. Joanna, Kadeen, Nico, you have received the materials?
Yes, miss.
All right, great. All right, great. So I am going to continue now.
Excuse me,
Yes.
Miss, I have a big large sheet of paper. Can I use it?
Can you repeat that, Eve?
Miss, I have a blank sheet of paper, but it's big. Can I use it?
Yes, you can use your blank sheet of paper. So that's what I'm going to start off with. If you have your drawing book, that is fine as well. All right? All right, so we are going to continue. All right, so this demonstration video is going to be based on the blending technique. As I said, we looked at the stippling before. Person still can go and try the stippling technique afterwards. As I said, I shared the link in the WhatsApp group and you can watch the previous class and you still attempt the activity. So let us go ahead and see how this lecturer, this demonstrator go about creating his blending technique, the drawing technique blending. All right.
Blending, the technique of gently intermingling two or more colors or values to create a gradual transition or to soften lines. The tools we'll be using today will be a HB graphite pencil and a blending stump. We want to make sure that we're adding those values in real lightly, holding our pencil a little bit further back to really just get the graphite on there. Then we're going to take the blending stump and begin to smooth out those values. Remember, blending deals heavily with making sure that we're smoothing out those values from one to the next. We shouldn't be looking to see any lines in this work. This isn't hatching or scumbling, but this is blending. So we want to make sure all our values and tones are blended out smoothly and evenly, and that we are applying more pressure to the darker areas and less pressure to the lighter areas to make sure that our values are transitioning from one to the other.
We just did. Samantha, see your hand raised up. Do you have a question?
No, miss, I forgot to put it down. Sorry.
Okay. Joanna. Yes, Joanna.
Yes, my miss.
Eve.
Miss,
Yes, Joanna.
is 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 why is there different? Why are there different colors
Why are they different colors? Are you talking about on the screen or in general?
on the screen?
Okay, that is my background. I created the Bitmoji classroom, so that is why you're seeing those colors there. All right, so it's a digital platform, so I just create the design for the Bitmoji
The
classroom.
thing in the video, why is it different colors?
All right, now you're not seeing different colors. If you're talking about the light, they're showing how light it's a subject. I'm not sure if that's what you're talking about. Because in the video right now, they're using the blending stump and the pencil.
I'm talking about that.
Okay, so I am now going to demonstrate what the instructor just did. And the shading technique or the drawing technique we're looking at is called the what? What is the name of it?
Blending.
Blending. Awesome. So I'm just going to tilt my screen on my drawing surface here, my blank paper, so you can see what I'm doing. So I am going to lightly start off. I'm going to start off with my pencil here. I'm going to start by doing the blending technique and gradually build up the tones. All right. So let me go ahead. I'm going to bring closer. If you notice I'm holding the pencil as well, you can come in with the pencil or you can hold it based on how comfortable you are. And
Miss Miss,
yes,
am I supposed to be drawing? What are you drawing?
we are going to do it afterwards. I'm demonstrating first.
Okay, Miss.
Yes. So if you notice, I'm lightly and I'm going over. So I'm going to show you the first tone. You're going to see what I'm talking about. Now this allows you to create blends. So I'm gradually building up the tone. So I'm starting with a mid-tone and I'm going to a light tone. Now I'm going to go over the area and building up the value. So when you use your pencil or your crayon, whichever medium you're using to shade with, if you want it to be darker, you apply more pressure and you go over it so that you have a range of tone. All right, so I'm going to show you what I'm talking about in a few. So you want a blend. So it's supposed to have this smooth transition by gradually building up the tones. So this is one way an artist really create those illusion that the work is three-dimensional, looks so realistic. So let me show you what I've enhanced on the shading. Right, so now you can see the gradual build up of the tone from dark, right? So the light tone coming towards the dark tone. So we have a range of tones here, and that is what he's doing. All right, so I'm going to ask persons to do this, and you're going to take a picture of it and send in the WhatsApp group so we can see closely, and then I will present it for everyone. All right, so gradually you can use your pencil or pencil crayon for this activity and practice doing the blending technique. Can we do this now?
How do you make it light?
You use less pressure, so you don't apply too many pressure to your surface. So I'm going to try the crayon. Are you seeing it drawn now? So this is a crayon I'm going to use, and I'm going to put that blending technique right beside what I did with the pencil. I'm going to start off very lightly, so do not apply too many pressures to it. Let me go ahead and sharpen my pencil crayon here, and I'm going to demonstrate again. All right, so if you understand, you can go ahead and start to make some blends with your pencil crayon and pencil as well. All right, so let me go ahead. All right, so if you notice, John, are you seeing the surface? Can everyone see what I'm doing?
Yes,
Yes,
please.
Yes,
Miss.
miss.
Okay, great. So if you notice, the face of the pencil crayon is what I'm doing. So I slant the pencil crayon, and I'm just gradually just moving in the upright direction, right? It's
And
almost
you're
very
doing it from light to dark
from
now.
yes, from light to dark. So I'm starting off very light. When you're shading or applying tones or values to your subjects, you always start off light first, right? So I'm just going to show you the light shading. So I did it very light, very lightly, so you probably can't see that clear, but I started out very light. Now I'm going to build on the tones, adding some mid tones. The mid tones now going to allow me to apply a little bit more pressure than if I was doing it very light. So let me go again now. So I'm applying a little bit more pressure because I want the blending technique to gradually build that smoothness, right? So let me do that now. As I said, you can always go over the crayon. I've changed the position, the direction of my pencil crayon. I'm more so on the tip of the pencil crayon to get that darker tone, and I continue to build on the value. All right, so when you want it to be darker, you press harder. You can go on the tip of the pencil or the crayon to get that dark tone, and you use less pressure when you're building up the mid-tones. All right, so I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. So I'm gradually building up the tones. Can everyone see this?
Yes, miss.
Great. So you should be attempting that now. And then I want to see persons, show me what you have done.
Okay, Miss.
All right, so after you finish that, then we're going to shade the spheres. So that's one of the geometric forms, right? When we draw them, we had tones to them to make them look three-dimensional or realistic, having depth and form, right? For my form, I'm going to use a stone that I have. So once we're there, so I'm giving everyone 10 minutes to get their blending. Then we're going to move on to the geometric form. We're
What's
going
a blending?
That's what we're doing. The blending technique, it's a drawing or shading technique, also called rendering technique, where we gradually apply tones, right, or value. So light value, dark value, mid value to your drawing, right? So if you're drawing and you want it to look realistic, then you apply the blending technique. That's what we just did. So this is the blending technique where we gradually apply a variety of tones from light, mid-tone, dark tone, and range of tones in between. Is that
But
clear?
yes, Miss. But what is the blending? Is there a thing that it's the blending?
Yes, you use your tool. That it is called blending because you literally tone or move your hand in such a way that you create even or gradually build up. So that is what they call the blending technique. Now, last week we look at the stippling technique. Stippling involves shading with dots. All right. So let me continue. Let you watch the video. While you're working, you can look at what the artist is doing and you can have a clearer understanding of what the blending is. All right, Joanna?
Miss.
All right, great. So continue to look at this video. I'm going to, if you need me to play it again, I'll do that so for you to get better understanding and clarity. So let me go ahead and continue with it. All right, so if you notice, the demonstrator is using almost like diagonal or parallel lines with the tip of the pencil because he's using the blending stump. It is a blending tool. Yes, Joanna?
Am I supposed to take a picture of?
Yes, take a picture of it and send it in the WhatsApp group. I'm going to look at everyone's shading in the next 6 minutes time because I gave everyone about 10 minutes to complete the task. So if you're finished, go ahead, take a picture of it. And then we're going to move on to drawing the spheres, which is a circle, right? So you draw the circle and then we're going to add tones to it. Is that clear, Joanna? Yes, Paige.
We're supposed to draw what you drew.
Yeah, so we did the shading and then we're going to draw the circle and then we're going to apply the blending technique to create the illusion of depth. All right, so once you're finished, who is finished? Because probably you're finished before the time. Paige, you had a question?
No, I just asked it.
Okay, great. So go ahead and you can start to draw your circle. I'm going to demonstrate that part. Right. Someone asked a question in the chat. Let me go ahead. All right. So Kadeem. All right. So we are doing the blending technique. I don't know if you got this part. Did you see when I was demonstrating this part? Kadeem? That's Neil. All right. So let me go ahead and start to draw the spheres. Now I can show you what I've done in previous classes with the blending technique, right? So this is the blending technique and it gives the illusion of depth. So you draw the circle and then we had the tones, right? The different value. Then we create this depth, this illusion that it is now sitting on a surface, but indeed, you know, it's a flat, it's on a two-dimensional surface. So that is what the blending allows you to do, right? To make your work look realistic. And once you can achieve that, you should be able to draw any subject and apply the blending techniques to it. All right. So let me go ahead and demonstrate the drawing of the spheres. I'm just going to do it on the same surface here. So I start off with a circle.
Excuse me, miss.
Is that Joanna?
Yes, miss. What are we drawing now?
All right, you're going to draw your circle. I'm going to show you what I mean. I'm actually doing it now, but I'm using my pencil and I'm going to use a light sketch line. So it's almost like the contours are going to be sketched very lightly. So I'm going to show you what I'm talking about now. All right, so this is a circle. I don't know if you're seeing it. Are you seeing it, Joanna? Everyone, are you seeing the circle?
Yes,
Yes,
miss.
miss.
Yes,
Okay.
miss.
And then we're now going to apply our tones or different values to the subject. Now, light has a very important part in how we go about shading our subject, right? So I'm going to demonstrate and then we're going to look at a video that breaks down how you go about separating from shadow and light in order for you to create the illusion of depth once you apply a variety of tones. So when you're shading students, you always go in a direction in how the subject is shaped. The shape of the subject play a part in how you shade it as well. Now I'm going to start to tone or add value um, in the direction in how the sphere is shaped. So I'm going in a curve like motion. So I'm just going to show you what I'm talking about. So I went ahead and I started to apply, the tones based on the shape of the sphere. So I'm doing this. Right. So I'm going to continue demonstrating and then I show you what I'm doing. If you already understand what to do, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and attempt it. You can also do yours while I am doing mine. All right. So let me continue with the demonstration. When you're shading, you always start lightly first. So you shade by applying light tones. If you notice the direction in which I'm going, I'm just going to select a light source. So this arrow that I'm drawing over here to the left is pointing to the sphere. So I know that light is going to be here. So this is where my light is going to be. So I don't apply any tones in that area. So I just shade lightly towards that area and I go around it. Right? Just look at the direction in which my hand is shading. Now I'm trying to get the shape of the spheres. So I'm gradually building up my tones. This is a light tone, so I'm just going to show you. It's a very light tone. Applied a very light tone. This is where the light is. So I don't apply any tone here or value. And I'm going to now go ahead and go over lightly, applying gradual pressure. So now I'm going to start to build on my midtones. Right? So I constantly build on the tones by applying it over and over again, making that smooth transition of blending. Right? So I'm going to show you now what happens when I start to apply pressure to my surface.
We're learning how to make 3D things. We're learning how to make 3D.
We're learning how to apply value to our surface to make the work look three-dimensional. Are you seeing the tones coming out?
Drawing it. Yes, miss.
Yes. So you gradually build on those tones and you work it based on what you see. So you have shadow, light. So we have the two areas here. I'm going to show you a video how we really pay attention. Yes, Eve, go ahead.
I'm finished. It's not circle. Shade. Miss, I'm finished doing it.
I'm not hearing you, Eve. Can you speak up a little bit louder?
Miss the shade, miss, not the circle. Finish with the shade.
You're finished with it?
Yes, miss, can I show it?
Yes, you can. Go ahead. Did you send it in the WhatsApp group as well?
Not yet, miss.
All right, so I'm going to ask you to send it in the WhatsApp group. That goes for everyone. I can easily just put the browser in the group and then we can see all the different shading techniques. So I see where Jasmine, very good. I'm seeing Jasmine.
Miss, that's Jonas.
Oh, that's Joanna's. Great. And I'm also seeing Paige. Okay. So for Paige, I'm going to ask you to gradually build on the tones with your pencil. right? Eve?
Am I supposed to color inside the circle?
All right, we're going to shade and gradually build value and tones. When we're coloring, it's almost like we're not paying much attention to light and shadow and all of that. So coloring is different from shading. When you're shading, you have to know about light and midtones and shadow as well. But I was demonstrating here. As I said, I am going to play a video. Then everyone should be applying their tones to make the circle, which is going to be a sphere when we're finished, to make it look realistic. All right.
Am I supposed to do it with the pencil or the pencil crayon?
All right. So you can do it with either. So I demonstrated with the pencil, and then you can also practice with the pencil crayon. All right. All right. So I'm waiting for that. I'm waiting for the other shading techniques. Eve, you sent it in the WhatsApp group.
No, miss, I turn on my camera, miss.
Okay.
Okay,
All right. So let me let everyone see what you're presenting. Just give me a minute. Let me pin you to the screen. All right, so go ahead now.
Hey, miss.
Yes. So everyone should be seeing Eve value scale. So she started from a dark tone. So can you explain to us how you go about doing this, Eve?
Miss, so first I draw a little like square thing, and then I use my pencil and I draw it very dark. Then I take time and make it lighter.
All right, very good. So it's almost like from black to light in a sense, because the part that represent the light would be pure white, and that is going to be like the highlight. There should be no tones in that. So the last box that you're supposed to draw should be building up gradually. So in between is mid-tone and almost looking similar to gray. All right, so a lot of gray tones in there. Are you seeing that?
Yes, miss.
Yes. So very good. Anyone else is finished or want to share? And as I said, there's two in the WhatsApp group. You can also look at what Joanna and Paige did, right? Jasmine, this one is yours now.
Yes, miss.
All right, great. So I'm seeing that you're using both the pencil crayon and the pencil, right?
Yes, miss.
Very good. Very, very good. All right. So we're going to start the spheres now. So let me go back to the presentation. I want you to understand light and dark and how it plays a part. Can everyone see this? Please look at the presentation.
Yes, miss.
Great. So when you want your work to look three-dimensional, just give me a minute. When you want your work to be three-dimensional, this is what happens when you add the different tones to it. Where would you say has the darkest tone?
The bottom
The
one.
shadow.
The shadow. Very good, right? So when you have the differentiation between light and dark, then you know how to apply the different tones. So the shadow would be the darkest area, but there's also something that you have to know about shadow, because when the shadow goes out to the light, it's not going to be pure dark or have that intense darkness throughout the shadow itself, based on how it is cast on the surface. All right. Then I had someone was asking a question. Was that you, Paige, or Joanna?
Joanna.
Yes, Joanna. Go ahead.
Miss, am I only supposed to draw a circle?
Yes, for now, because we have to do this bit by bit. So when you're drawing, every subject can be broken down into shapes, in all those shapes that we know, right? All the geometric shapes. If I show you this line here, what shape do you see?
A circle.
A circle?
Awesome. And it is similar for most subject that has a circular shape. Here's an onion. It has a circle shape. right? Similar if I should take up this coconut. It's just a bigger shape, but it's still a circle. So everything that we looked at can be broken down based on different shape. If I should take up this book right here now, what shape do you see?
Rectangle.
Rectangle.
Yes, it's rectangle because this side are longer and this side is short. So it would be a rectangle. And we know that if we're drawing the outline of this book right here, we would start off because we already identified the basic shape. Is that clear?
Yes, Miss.
Great. So we have to identify shapes and we have to identify how do we break down any subject if we're going to attempt to draw it. We must say, okay, what type of shape is this? What about this marker? Which shape would you say this best represents?
A cylinder?
Definitely a cylinder, right? And if I should change it, the direction, you're going to see that.
A circle.
Right, the circle, the bottom part of it. So if it should be based on foreshortening, and we had it on the table just like how Eve showed us the picture with our ear product and it was on the table, we know that the base of it would be a circular shape. If I should tilt it now, so this is where foreshortening comes into play, and perspective, we're also seeing that cylinder, right? So we draw the rectangle first and we get the shape, the basic shapes. So everything that we know that is an object or subject can be broken down into the basic or simple shapes. Is that clear?
Yes, Miss.
So this is why we practice drawing shapes and we practice shading them. All right, so let me continue. All right, so these are some of the basic shapes that we know, the geometric form. So once you had value to them, they look they give the illusion of depth and that they're a form now. Right? Can you identify them for me? Who can identify these geometric forms?
Miss, a sphere, a cube, and a cuboid.
All right. So here I have some similar to what I have here at home. So here I have the cube, right? Or cuboid. Cylinder. This is a cylinder. And this stone would represent the spheres, right? So as I said, your subject, your object help you know when you look at the form. Similar if I just take up, because I have several things here, this cucumber, and I put it here, it would represent, which one would this best represent? Which one would you say out of these three?
The cylinder.
The cylinder, correct, right? So it would best be represented drawing the cylinder that we have here, right? And then we now go into the contours of it and making it based on the shape. And when we're shading it now, we say, okay, the light is coming from here. You know, this is going to be the light area, and then the shadow is going to form on the other side, right? So that is what we're applying now. And if you understand the basic, when you get to shading or drawing any subject, you should be able to make it look realistic. All right. So you're using the different pencils, crayons to apply. So you start off drawing lightly, then you move on, adding the different tones. You can use a blended approach where you use colors on top of colors, similar to this diagram here. So if you start off drawing lightly, you apply yellow to create the light tone. Then you notice they started off with blue here. Then with blue and yellow, you know that you're going to have a blend of green, right? So this is how you go about approaching using the shading technique. And you can achieve very realistic subjects, right? So you make marks with your medium. So you start to apply a range of tones to your subjects. Great. Now I did say this is going to be done for 10 minutes, and in the next half an hour we will be drawing and shading, applying these principles, light and shadow. So please watch this video, and then shortly after you're going to be
light and shadow. Light and shadow. The edge where the form transitions from light to shadow is the terminator. It's located at the tangent between the light source and the form.
I hope you're seeing this. So this video, they separated the light and the shadow. Can we see this, everyone?
Yes, Miss.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, miss.
Great. I want you to listen keenly, and I want you to take away from this video, because it has a lot of information that will train your eye and your hand and your brain once you're shading. So if you know these formula, these tips in how to go about applying tones based on what light, where light is and shadow is, it makes your work look very realistic. So it's very important that you pay attention to this video and you listen attentively. All right, so let me continue playing it.
In other words, just before the planes start to face away from the light. Let's start by talking about the shadow side. There are two types of shadows. Form shadow is a shadow caused by the planes turning away from the light source. A cast shadow is caused by one form blocking the light from hitting another form. This egg is blocking the light from reaching this part of the table. You can find this shape by projecting lines from the light source to the terminator of the first form, and continuing those lines to the obstructed form. Shadows will rarely be completely black. Light bounces off objects in the environment and is reflected back into the shadows. This is called reflected light. In this case, the light will bounce off the paper and into the shadow on the egg. Along the terminator, sometimes you'll see a core shadow. It's a darker plane that defines the edge of the shadow. The thickness and softness of the core shadow can vary quite a bit. It depends on the thickness of the form, how sharp the edge is between the planes of light and dark, or the angle and position of the reflecting light source. Sometimes you won't see the core shadow at all, only if there is something on the shadow side to reflect back enough light to create a visible difference in value. This dark piece of paper reflects less light than the white paper. You can see a drastic difference in the value of the reflected light. Also, regarding the visibility of a core shadow, the reflection has to come from the right angle. If it's directly behind the shadow side, it will create a nice core shadow. If we move the reflection source closer to the angle of the main light source, it will illuminate the area where the core shadow would have been. If you don't see a distinct core shadow, many artists choose to cheat one in, because it could add to the three-dimensionality of the form. Reflected light doesn't just affect form shadows, it also affects cast shadows. Less light can bounce into this deep crevice where the egg and table meet, and so that area gets darker as it goes deeper. This is called an occlusion shadow. Moving on to the light zone. Immediately after the terminator is the halftone. These are planes of the form that are partially hit by the direct light. As the planes get closer and closer to facing the light, they will get lighter. And the point where the form points directly at the light is called the center light. Don't confuse the center light with the highlight. The difference between the two is that the center light is the plane facing the light source, whereas the highlight is a reflection of the light source. A reflection will move depending on where the viewer is. So let's say this is the egg. The viewer or the camera is down here, and the light source is over here. The center light will be here facing the light source. The highlight, however, will need to be at the point where the light can bounce off the surface of the egg and reach the viewer's eyes. These two angles need to be equal. If you've played billiards, this is very similar. To test this concept, let's mark the point of the highlight. And mark another point for the center light. Now let's move the camera and see what happens. Okay, you can see here that the highlight moved to a different spot, following the camera. The center of light hasn't changed. It's still pointing directly at the light source. Don't let the math of all this confuse you. Highlights and cast shadows that we discussed earlier can be changed, and they'll still look believable. Nobody's gonna call you on a highlight being in the wrong spot. I can take the highlight on this egg, move it to a different spot, and change the shape. and it still looks believable. I'll often change the shape of a cast shadow to better describe the form it's being cast onto. For example, if I have an object that casts a shadow appearing to go against the form. The form of this paper towel roll is a cylinder, and to show that, I would change the cast shadow from the egg to wrap around the cylinder. I usually try to describe the form that the shadow is casting onto rather than the form casting the shadow. So give yourself artistic license. Learn the rules, and then learn.
All right, so I am going to break that down a little bit more for you. So when you are, yes, Jasmine.
Miss, do you want us to draw the shadow along with it?
Yes, you're going to add the shadow. I remember you learned the term now. So what is the shadow that is now on the surface? What is it called? The presenter said it. What is that shadow called now? All right, here's a diagram that simply breaks it down for you. All right, so we have the light source that gives us the highlight. So wherever you have the light source penetrating the subject directly, so if you're using a flashlight and you hover it over any subject, where the light is coming from based on the ray, that is called the highlight. What is it called?
The highlight.
Yes. And then the ray now, once
The highlight.
Awesome, Joanna. So once the ray now from the light is spreading outwards because that's what we know it as, that part is now called the light, right? So you have the highlight, which is simply the spot where the light is penetrating on the subject. Then you have the light. Now the shadow is really on the subject. So the shadow is on the subject, and then we have what we call a reflective light. How did they say the reflective light is created? Anyone catch that part? All right, so I'm going to put the video in.
Light.
Yes, by the light that is bouncing off the surface. Now, the surface that best show your light is not a black surface, but a white surface would be better to show your light area. So for example, I have this cylinder here. I'm just going to tilt my screen so you can see me. All right, so I have the cylinder here and I put it on the white surface. Now the shadow, you can see the cast shadow because it's casting a shadow. That's what they call it, a cast shadow.
Miss, you can myself.
Everyone is seeing?
Yes, miss.
Yes. So
Yes.
if I should use any subject just the very same and I put it on the surface, it casts in a shadow on the surface. So this is called a cast shadow. So if you think about us when we're standing or walking, we cast a shadow on the ground or whatever surface we're walking on, right? So that is really called a cast shadow. Now the shadow itself is fall on the subject, and that is where the light affects the subject itself, and that is where the shadow is formed. Then you have the lightest part of the subject based on where the light is coming from, and then you have the highlight. So that is what the artist or the presenter was presenting earlier, for you to understand that when light have a major impact and shadow has a major impact in how we shade our subject and how we see them. All right, here's the spheres. Here's a form now. So if you notice the highlight, can everyone see what I'm presenting?
Yes, miss.
So the highlight would remain pure light. So that would be that small circle on my shading. So if I should go, this is where the light is coming from. Let me demonstrate it with a marker because I know it would be best for you to see it here. If I go ahead and let me just tilt my screen. If I go ahead and I draw my circle or my sphere, so we're starting off with a circle. The first thing I'm going to try to say where my light is coming from. So my light is coming from the right here, right? So let me show you. So this is where my light is coming from. Where will the highlight go?
Under here.
Use your words and direct me. So my arrow is coming here. Where would the highlight be? Would it be here?
Yes, miss.
Yes, miss.
Yes,
Right.
miss.
So I am simply just going to put a circle on that highlight. And when I'm shading, I should not put any tones in that highlight. It should be left pure white. And remember, you're using your pencil, so it would be white. No tone should add in there. Now I'm going to look at the light. So in the previous diagram, it shows the light area. So if you notice, the light is around the highlight. So this part now, when I'm shading, it's going to have the lightest tone. The lightest tone ever is going to be the light part. So I'm going to now draw a circle based on the shape of my spheres. And this would be the light. Can everyone see that? So this is my highlight. And this is my light. So when I'm shading now, no, I should not touch the highlight with any pencil or crayon. And this one is going to have the lightest tone based on the value scale or the different range of tones. Then now you have what we call where the terminator and the light is going to be. So they talk about where the light and the shadow and how you predict where that is, because this is where the light and shadow going to be. So if I draw a bulb, I'm just going to draw a light source. Let me just quickly draw that light source. All right, so this is my light source. All right, now I'm using broken lines to show you the ray of the light. You should be seeing that now. Are you seeing that?
Yes, miss.
All right, so the edge of the subject, this circle, which is going to be the spheres, if you notice, the light is now at the edge. Now, wherever the edge is for you, that is what we call the terminator, right? Yes, Joanna.
Miss, am I supposed to draw what you are drawing?
You're going to do it immediately after I'm finished demonstrating, all right? So I'm just letting you know how to go about determine where you're going to have your light tones, mid tones, and dark tones, and so on. So this part now is where the light would stop, because if the light is coming here, there's going to be a point where it cannot pass the subject. So this is where it stops. So the light stops here, and we have that pure light, right? This is going to be where the terminator, and immediately after the terminator, you're going to have those mid tones and darker tones here. So this is where you're going to have that shadow being cast. What was that?
Am I supposed to use a marker?
No, don't use a marker using your pencil or your pencil crayon. I'm using a marker because I'm demonstrating and I want you to see it. Sometimes when I use a pencil to draw, you might not see the line so clearly. So that's why I'm demonstrating with the marker. Is that clear?
Yes, miss.
Yes.
Yeah. So now we have the light coming. This is where the light, it's the end of the subject. It would be similarly to this subject. So if the light is coming here, the light would have a point where it stops. And this is where it would stop, and we have the shadows or different tones getting darker on the opposite side, right? All right, so my light is coming from this end. I'm having the onion here. The light is coming from here, and the cast shadow is now on the surface. Over this side, I'm not getting any light. Why am I not getting any light? So the light is here. Can the light pass through the subject?
No, miss.
No. So this is why this over this side is going to be a little bit what?
Darker.
It's going to be darker because the light cannot pass through the subject. So it's this here at a point. So this is the light ray and it stops here, and that part is called the terminator. And this side is where the shadow is going to cast along with the reflective light. The reflective light, because the surface is white, it bounces back to the subject. I want you to get this because when you break down your subject, when you shade it, it makes it much better. Now your shadow is going to have the shape of your subject based on how the light is cast on the subject itself. So let me go ahead and demonstrate the shadow now using back the marker. So your shadow is going to start here, and it's going to take the shape of your subject. It always take the shape of your subject. All right, so this is the shadow, and it helps to make the subject look realistic when you start to apply the tones. All right, and when you're looking at the shadow, you're going to have the reflective light bouncing here. So I'm going to now draw the line, a line that will show you the reflective light. It's always at the edge of the subject, right? Right here would be the reflective light. Can everyone see that?
Yes, miss.
So that is what you do when you're really shading your subject to make it look realistic. So you separate the light from the dark, which is the mid-tone, right? The shadow itself, and then you make the cast shadow, which is what we know. The subject is now casting that shadow on the surface. So I'm going to see how you go about attempting that. I'm going to show some other videos while you're working, and then I'm going to ask everyone to present that. Now for your assignment task, I'm going to ask you to choose a subject that is spheres, like it could be lemon, it could be an orange, it could be an onion, it could be a pepper, coconut, that has that shape, and you're going to try to apply the blending technique to it.
Can it be a tomato?
Can be a tomato as well. All right, so we're practicing the spheres now, and then we're going to move on to our subject afterwards. All right, so that is what I'm going to ask everyone to do now. This is a diagram to help you to break down that area that we talk about. All right, so you can begin now. I'm giving you 10 minutes to start to apply your tones. I'll be checking in to see what you have and have some presentation before we, before
Miss,
the end of the session. Yes.
am I supposed to write what you write on the paper?
No, don't write what is on the paper. You're going to now create your spheres, the shading technique. All right, so let me go back to the drawing. Let me just go back to the drawing that we were looking at. All right, are you seeing these geometric form?
Yes, miss.
That's the one that you're going to do, the circular one. It's called a spheres. That's what we're going to be doing now. All right?
The circle. Am I
Yes.
supposed to draw all that shape that's on the screen?
You're going to draw one of them. So it should look like this when you're finished. It's almost like if you're looking at an egg, and it would draw it in terms of, this would be an oval.
One.
But you're doing the circle.
A light one and a dark one.
All right. So try that one for me, and then I'm going to check in to see how it looks, okay? You can use your pencil or your pencil crayon for this one. Don't use any marker. I was just demonstrating how you break down your light and your highlights and so on. All right? So everyone should begin. Do we understand what to do?
Yes, miss. Yes, miss.
Great.
But can you go back to the diagram with
All right, you want to see the
label?
diagram? Sure. This one? Or this
Yes,
one?
miss.
Or the first one? Great. All right. All right, so the next 10 minutes, I'm going to check in to see what everyone has. If you already started, you can post it in the WhatsApp group, and I can also monitor it there. All right, so I'm here if there's any question to clarify things. All right, so is this for Jasmine or Joanna?
Miss Jasmine, Miss Mime.
Okay, great. All right, so I am going to ask you to, once you're practicing, you're going to do another one, but don't label it. So without the labeling, and try to make it very even with the tone. So this time around, let me show you what I'm doing. All right, can you see what I'm doing now? I'm showing you what I started.
Yes, Miss.
Right.
Yes,
So
miss.
I'm not labeling it, and I started to add the shadow. You see, feel like it's already on a surface.
Yes, Miss.
Yes, and I gradually build on that. Now, there's another element that you can use in when you have those lines, because blending, you should not see any lines at all. You can use a Q-tip or a cotton swab, as we know, because we call it Q-tip. And you now apply the cotton part to it, and you start to blend. So it gives you that smooth, gradual build up. You see what I'm doing? So I'm going to ask you to attempt it, and you can use a cotton swab. You can also use a brush. This gives us a very smooth, gradual build up of the tones. And that is how you can also go over to make your work look very, very realistic when you start to apply that smooth, gradual build up. All right, so I am just going over what I did, and this is one way. Some persons has used their fingers in the past, but don't use your fingers because that leaves oil residue, because you know that we naturally produce oil, right? So you don't use your finger to spread or to blend. You use a cotton swab. You can use a soft cloth, right? Some artists also use paintbrush. So I also have a paintbrush here. So if I did this with my paintbrush, if I had a paintbrush, I could also use it to smooth out the area, and I go in a circular motion, right? And I try to blend it out. Can you see this?
Yes, miss.
All right, so you can use one or the other. You can get a soft cloth, a cotton swab, and I'm going to show you what's happening when I do that. Can you see that glossy look? It looks right, it's almost like a ball or marble. Are we seeing that?
Yes,
Yes,
Miss.
Miss.
All right, so this is my reflective light. If you notice, the reflective light is very light. Then this is where my highlight is, then my light area. Then I now go into the shadow. This is where the shadow is going to form, right? And then I have my cast shadow, which is here. And if you notice, the cast shadow is very dark, where the light cannot penetrate under the subject. Then as it comes out to the light, it becomes lighter. It gives us a different tone to it. So it's a mid-tone, right? So when your shadow goes out to the light, it doesn't keep that consistency of very dark. It gets lighter. So this is what we're trying to achieve. So Jasmine, you can attempt another one. And then while you're doing that, I am going to practice with the pencil crayon. And I'm going to, let me draw the onion this time around. I'm going to draw the onion and use the same technique, because the onion is very smooth. There's some smooth areas, almost like it looks glassy when you look at it. The blending technique would be perfect for this. All right, so I'm just going to continue doing that. Anyone else is finished? Eve, how is it going?
Okay, Miss.
All right. Joanna, how is it going? Joanna,
Yes, Miss.
how is it going? Are you managing? You draw your circle already?
No, Miss.
All right. Kadeen? Anika, how is it going? Samantha?
Miss, it's going well.
Great. Carrie?
Miss, it's going good.
Great. Safaro?
Miss, it's going okay.
All right, that's good. So as I said, while you're working, I'm here just applying my different tones. Now I'm using the pencil crayon, and I'm going very lightly with my light tones. I'm going around my highlight. As I said, your highlight should have no light at all, but I'm using the lightest tone, and I'm shading in the direction of how the spheres is. It's almost like using up the contours. Right, if you study contours, you're talking about the outline, and you have cross contours where you shade based on how the subject appears. Right, so I'm just applying light tones to it, and then I'm going to gradually build on my tones. Right, you can also apply in a circular motion, but you want to build on those lines, those tones. There should be no line in your blending technique. That is why it's called the blending, gradually building up. When you start to use lines now, that is where you're going to cross hatching or hatching. That's another type of shading technique. All right, so hopefully the next drawing session, you will be able to see the other shading techniques. So far we looked at stippling and blending. All right. So I'm gradually building my tones. All right. Starting to add my mid-tones, I'm applying a little bit more pressure to the subject. And this is the part that, based on the demonstrator, the presenter, this is where the light stops. So there's a point on the subject that the light does not penetrate, and they call it the terminator. So where the light and the shadow stops, they call it the terminator. All right, so that is where you would have your shadow being cast on the subject itself. The subject is where you have the shadow. So I'm gradually building up the tones. All right. Remember I said you can use a cotton swab. You can use a soft cloth. All right, so now I'm going in and I'm applying some of the dark tones in the shading. All right, I'm applying a little bit more pressure to achieve that dark tone. All right. If you are looking at a subject, if you were actually drawing an orange or anything like that, you would actually you would actually start to apply a little bit more pressure. I'm now at the point of my pencil crayon. This allows me to apply the detail and the different dark tones. So a little bit more pressure, and I'm now at the tip of the pencil, and I'm blending it out. So I'm going over those areas and gradually building on it. All right. Alright, so now I am going to start to apply my cast shadow based on how the light is. I'm just changing the direction of my paper because I'm a little bit comfortable doing that. So I'm applying the darkest area. It allows me to shade that shadow. And I'm now continuing building up the tones. All right, so I just did this with the orange crayon. Can everyone see it?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so I did not use the cotton swab, and I didn't use any fabric. I just used my pressure where I'm going lightly, dark tones, my reflective light, my cast shadow, right, where the light and shadow starts. And this is my highlight, so I put my arrow to show that this is where the light is coming from. And I gradually build on my tones. Right, so I want you to practice drawing subjects that are within your space. It can be any subject. As I said, it could be an orange, apple, tomato, and you practice doing that. All right. Jasmine, are you doing another one?
Yes, miss.
Great. All right, so I am going to look at my onion, but I'm going to observe the contours. So all those things that is a part of the onion, I'm going to
Miss,
act as it.
I'm finished.
You're sending yours now. Wonderful. So go ahead and do that.
Miss, am I supposed to put the shadow if I'm using the color?
Yes, put the shadow similar to the demonstration that I showed you. So the orange shadow pencil, I use a pencil for the shadow. So I know where the direction is coming from. The light is directly over this sphere. So this is why we have the shadow right there.
Okay, miss.
Great. All right, so I'm observing my onion. So I'm drawing from observation and I'm going to look at the contours of it. All right.
Excuse me, miss.
Yes, Eve.
Miss, I didn't mind, but it's not great. I'm
And
ready
that's
for
all right. It's about practice. I'm not expecting everyone to be, Leonardo da Vinci at this point. We're practicing. So your lines and what you do first is a part of the process, okay?
Miss, it looks something like this.
All right, let me pin you to the screen. Just give me a minute. Remember to send it to the group as well. So let me pin you to the screen so everyone can see. Can everyone see what Eve is presenting?
Yes, miss.
Very
Yes.
good. Is this your first time attempting the blending technique, Eve?
Yes, miss.
And this is a very good attempt. And you're going to see that you get better each time you practice and do it, okay? Please send that in the group so I can document your progress as well. And you practice doing the different blending techniques, the drawing techniques called rendering techniques, because that's what we're doing. And you apply to the spheres as much as possible. Practice, practice, practice. That is how you really get better. All right?
Yes, miss.
All right, so I'm here drawing my onion. I'm going to show you the outline shortly. When I'm finished, I'm going to put the the image of it in the WhatsApp group because I know the time will not permit us to stay on and to do the entire practice. So I have lightly sketched. When you're sketching, you always start light first. And because I'm observing the light is coming from the left, I'm just going to put in my shadow of the onion based on the shape of it. All right, and I'm going to show you what I sketched out. So I'm using a pencil, but you should be able to see it. Are you seeing it, everyone?
Yes, miss.
And this is my onion that I'm using. So this is the onion, and I just drew it and I looked at it, observed the contours, which is the outer edge, the outline of it. Then I drew it. Now I'm going to apply I'm going to use my pencil crayon for it. And then I'm going to post it in the WhatsApp group. Now your assignment task, let me just quickly go to that slide. Based on what we have done. All these charts, as I said, the session is being recorded. So you will be privy to it. So produce an artwork based on the blending drawing. Draw one geometric form and apply the blending drawing shading technique. We have done that. Now you're going to draw ordinary or everyday object using the modify contour. That's what I just demonstrated with the onion. So you go back and you make the edits and you start to draw the outline. So modify contour meaning you're looking at your subject and you're looking based on the outline of it and you modify your lines as you go. You might draw a line and it is not so convex or concave, meaning the curved lines, you go and adjust it. So you modify, that's what it means. You can always research what modify means on the internet, go on YouTube. I advise you to do that. Many artists are using the different techniques. Now you're going to draw, your drawing should show a range of value, light, cast, shadow, highlights, all of what you learned today. And you can do it in a drawing book, on drawing paper, or you can practice doing it on a digital platform. For those persons already practicing digital art, I would love to see that for next class. So the class task, we started the geometric shape, which is the spheres, and you apply the blending technique. Now the assignment task is for you to apply this to any ordinary or everyday objects that we have. Is that clear?
Miss?
Yes.
Miss, so like, or you use an onion, we can use anything like a script for anything and do it.
So you're going to use an onion. As I said, it has to have a spheres-like kind of shape. So you have lime, you have orange, some other things that would be circular in shape.
Miss, maybe.
Miss, so just to confirm, what we're doing is basically doing what we're doing, but trying to get it more neater as possible.
Yes, and apply to a subject that we would see every day. As I said, so every shape, every subject has a shape, and we can break it down. Then I did ask, and Joanna said the tomato would be perfect for that subject. Do you agree with Joanna?
Yes, Miss.
Yeah, so the tomato could work. You have orange, we have our custard apple, right? We have our sweet sap, things like that, the coconut. So you're going to apply what you know to an actual subject, and that's what I was demonstrating. So I started the modify control with my onion. Now I'm going to apply the shading technique. So remember, you can use your pencil or your pencil crayon for that, and you look at the subject. Which color would be best represent the tomato? What colors would you use to shade for the tomato?
Red.
Very good. And you can add a little yellow or a little orange, and you blend over. So you can start off shading it with yellow, then you add a little orange or red orange, and then you put for the dark tones, add the red to it. Are you following?
Yes, Miss.
All right, great. So I am going to just wrap this up. Remember, I'm just a text away. If there's anything you want to share with me, you can add it to the group. And let everyone see what you've been doing. All right, yes, Carrie.
Miss, this is my
All right, let me pin you to the screen so everyone can see what you're doing. You're showing us, right?
yes, Miss.
All right, so I'm pinning you to the screen so everyone can see what you're doing. Go ahead. Very good. I am seeing wonderful, wonderful. This is very good, Carrie. And I'm seeing the car. Can you point and tell us what you did?
Miss, my light was coming from here,
Yes.
and I tried my best to make the point out the values of light, like right here is the
Yes.
dark value, and
Very good.
here was a little lighter, and here was
Yes.
much lighter, and this was the light part,
So that's
and
the highlight, right?
yes, miss, and
Very
this
good.
was the, I
The
don't know what
reflective
this is
light.
called.
The
Yes, miss,
reflective
the
light.
reflect light,
And then you
and
have
this
your,
was my
what is
cast
cast on the
shadow.
surface? Cast shadow. Very good. Wonderful job. And I'm seeing that you're applying that. And each time you do it, the more you practice, you're going to get better at it. I could see this being a ball. Are you understanding?
Yes, miss.
Yes, very good. I'm very pleased. This is the first time you're doing the blending technique, Carrie?
Yes, miss.
And you're very good at it. Your first attempt, very good. And I would love to see how you continue to practice and how you improve on the shading technique. Can anyone else want to share with us, Samantha? Can we see what you did?
Oh, miss, I'm not finished,
Well, that's
but
all right. We don't have to be completely finished. We're just sharing what you have. Even the
Miss, I'm
process is good.
finished.
Who is that?
Joanna?
Joanna. All right. Just let us look at Samantha's work. All right, Samantha, talk to us about what you have now.
miss, I'm not really sure what to talk about.
Yeah, based on what you just learned, where's the light, the shadow, we'll see. We'll give you feedback. I'll give you feedback if anything, but go ahead and apply what you learned today. Where's the light source? Where's it coming from? Where's your highlight and so on? Just go ahead and point.
Miss, it was upside down.
Okay.
Um, so basically, the light is coming
From the
from
right
the left.
or
Or
your left, but my
yes,
right.
yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes.
Um, yes, miss. And
All
then the
right. So
shadow is on
yes.
the my
On
right.
the opposite side, yes. That's where the shadow will be cast, yes. All right, so I'm not seeing the reflective light. So you can work on the reflective light, Samantha. Joanna, you want to present as well?
Yes, miss.
All right, go ahead and show us what you have done.
Hmm? Not yet.
All right,
I'm
you're
waiting
all
for my turn.
very good. All right, talk to us about what you're presenting now.
Wait, come here, come here. I just want to show you, Joanna. I did, I did, I did a wall, and then I put the shadow,
You
and the
put the
light.
shadow in, yes. Where's the light coming from?
Right?
On the right, very good. All right, and you use a pencil to do this one, right?
Yes, miss.
All right, so for your shadow, I notice under the subject, which is affairs, you have it lighter than at the tip. So look at this one now. So this should be the darkest area. Are you pinning me to the screen?
Stop biting me. Sorry, I was biting.
Yes, miss.
It wasn't
All
it.
right, great. So if you see what I'm doing here, let me want everyone to see. Can everyone see what I have here? All right,
Yes,
so the darkest area is going to be immediately under the spheres. So this is why. So Joanna, in yours, I'm seeing the dark tone at the edge. The dark should really be under the subject itself, right? So this is where no light is getting under the subject because it's now blocked. So if I should put this, let me see if I can demonstrate this. Yes. So let me tilt the screen. If I should put this line here on the surface, you notice the cast shadow immediately under the subject itself. There's not no light is going to penetrate here. So if I should say this is my lighter or this is my flashlight, this is where the light is going to go, and the light cannot go through the subject, which is the lime. So this part is going to be very dark. So it's going to be very dark immediately under where the orange or the lime or maybe a tomato meets the surface. So once it goes there, no light is here, so it becomes the darkest part, right? So it casts a shadow. Once it comes out to this side, it's going to become lighter. So notice on your drawing, this part is darker than this part. So you can make it the flip side. All right. Similarly, if I should put this you know, pepper here. Yes, good. So I have this pepper. The darkest part is going to be where the pepper and the surface meets. So immediately here, it's going to be dark. Then once it comes out to the light, it becomes lighter. Is that clear?
Yes, miss.
All right. So I am going to continue on this for next week, where I am going to allow you now to set up 3 subjects.
Miss, is this food butter?
Who is that presenting? Joanna, you showing us another one?
No, just
You made the corrections. All right, let me see what you did. Yes. So now, and then this, the part that is closest to the light, I see that you have it here. You're going to try to pick up some of the light. So put your eraser on top of it and erase some of it, okay?
okay.
So the part that is out, make it lighter than the part that is immediately under it. Very good. I see that you're making your changes as you go. All right.
Miss Cousin,
Anita, I don't know. Jasmine. Oh, I saw yours already, right, Jasmine? You showed me yours?
Miss, I did a do-over. I'm not sure if you saw it.
All right, you just sent it in the group. Oh, I'm seeing Carrie's. Very good, Carrie.
Miss Cousins?
Yes, Paige. You want to show me what you have done?
Okay.
Awesome. So I've seen, all right, can everyone look at what Paige has? We're now presenting. Great.
Miss, that's Carol.
Hmm? No, that's not Carrie. That's Paige. Carrie, yeah. Oh, sorry. You know, you see the name Carrie because her middle name is Paige, and I'm familiar with her before, right? I affectionately call her Paige, and she's fine with that, right? So this is her sphere. She's shading it. She also labeled it as well. That's what you did, right?
Yes, Miss Cousin.
Great. So the next time you attempt it, you're not going to have the labeling, but to practice putting in the different tones and the highlights and so on. Is this your first time using the blending technique, Paige?
Yes, it is.
Very good attempt. I am so proud of you. Very good. All right. Who haven't looked at yet? Oh, Jasmine, you want to show us the last one that you did? Can you share with us? Let me know when you're presenting.
Miss, she is.
Okay, I'm going to pin you to the screen because there's so much things going on here. Hold on. Give me a second here. All right, so everyone look for Jasmine name and then you can pin her to the screen so you can see what she has.
I see
And you
her.
can present. Okay. All right, talk to us now, Jasmine.
Okay, Miss, so I did one, I think it's identical to yours, where I made the light source came from the top.
Great. All right, and I'm seeing you using a purple crayon. Is that true?
Yes,
Is that what I'm
miss.
seeing? All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what I'm going to ask you to do is to follow the steps All right, so I got bumped off for a bit. Can everyone see me? I was saying about
Miss,
work. Can you see?
it shows that there are three of you in the meeting.
Yes, because I got bumped off and I'm back. But I'm here nonetheless. That will happen at times because the recording is set for 12 o'clock and we're a little over, and that's fine because we're being creative and we're presenting what you have learned. And I'm very excited about that. And I want everybody to be given the
Miss,
opportunity to share
Miss,
what they have.
fixed it. I
Huh?
fixed.
You
I
fixed it.
fixed
All
it.
right. Show me what you have. Great. I'm seeing the improvement. I've seen the improvement, and I know that each time you practice, you're going to get better. All right, Safari, Safira. Sorry about that.
Yes,
Can you
ma'am.
can you share what you have, please? I want to see everyone's work, so we all get the opportunity to know discuss what you have.
Miss Jasmine didn't finish.
Oh,
Miss, I'll
you
send it
didn't.
to the WhatsApp group.
Oh, you're gonna send it in the group. Yes, I think I was talking about something on yours as well. Ah, all right. Thank you, Miss. All right. So, are you showing us now? Safara?
Miss, I'm going to send the photo in the WhatsApp.
Oh, you're gonna send the photo in the group. And Nika, are you here? I want to give everyone the opportunity. Anika, are you hearing me? Probably you could post it in the group if you're unable to. All right, I think I've covered everyone. I've seen Carrier's work. I've seen Eve work, Jasmine, Joanna, Samantha, and Safari. So she's going to send it in the WhatsApp group so we can look at it. All right, so we're all seeing it now. I'm just going to bring it up to the screen because I want everyone to be able to present. All right, so I am just going to, let me go ahead and bring it to the presentation. I'm going to share the tab. All right, so it's coming up. Can we all see this?
Yes, Miss.
Yes,
All
miss.
right, great. So this is our attempt as well. All right, she just posted it in the WhatsApp group. Right. So so Farah, can you talk to us about what we're seeing? Where's the highlight? Where's the shadow and so on? Go ahead.
Miss, the highlight is up at the top where there's no shading. And
Yes.
then there is the light right under the highlight, which is
Yeah.
darker than the highlight. And then there's the reflected light right down at the bottom. It's not very obvious. There's
Yes.
a shadow in the middle, and the car shadow is down at the bottom if you can see.
All right. So what we can notice too, is when you have the light coming from above, the shadow is not going to be so much. So it's going to be like it's sitting. So the subject is almost like it's sitting. So the shadow is smaller, right? The shape itself, it sits right there. So if I should have the onion like what I have in my hand now, the shadow is going to take the form immediately under the subject. So it's not going to extend so much. So you can reattempt this one, but I'm loving the size of the spheres, and where I'm seeing the highlight is just pronounced. You can also use your eraser to pick up the reflective light. So you can go back into and use your eraser. The artist eraser that we use to really pick up this is called a kneading eraser, a putty eraser. It's almost like Play-Doh. You can go to Kingston Bookshop or some of the different stationery areas, and you can ask for a kneading eraser or a putty eraser. That helps. And you just use the eraser and pick up some of those dark areas, and then you can see the reflective light more pronounced. All right?
Okay, Miss.
But so far, so good. Very good. I'm not sure. I'm not seeing Anika. What's happening? Are you hearing me? All right. I would love to see her work, but I'm going to ask her. I'm going to contact her for her to submit it in the WhatsApp group afterwards. All right, everyone. Can everyone just give me a feedback how you found the class and the activities? You know, just your feedback.
What do you mean by a feedback?
Yes, talk to me. How do you feel about the class? How do you find the activity? Did you like it? Did you learn something? Things like that. How did you find the
I
overall
learned
class?
something.
What did you learn?
The shading things.
All right. Do you remember the name of the shading things? What is the technique called? Blending. Very good. Blending technique. The blending shading technique. All right. So the blending technique, what have we learned about it, Samantha? I'm just going to call on persons. What have you learned about the blending technique?
That you can use a paintbrush, Q-tip, um, and some other things except your finger to blend.
All right. And if you should define what blending is, Eve, what would you define it as in your own word? If you should, someone should say, what did you do in our Konnect class today? And you said, oh, I learned the blending technique. How would you explain to them what that is, Eve?
Miss, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Miss?
Yes, I'm hearing you, Eve. Go ahead. How would you explain to someone who don't know about the blending technique and you have now been exposed to it, and they look at your spheres that you draw and they ask you, what did you do to achieve that? You said they use the blending technique. And I said, what is that? How would you explain to them how they could go
Miss,
about doing it and what it is? Yes.
I'll tell them that the blended technique is when you use shade, so you move from darker to a lighter color. So that what I would tell them.
Awesome. Very good. All right. So we gradually build on value or tone, moving from a light tone to a dark tone, and have a range of tones in between. All right. Now, Jasmine,
Yes, miss.
every subject, once it creates a dark tone on a surface. So if I have this, I have the pepper again, and I place it on the surface. That dark tone that is now on the surface is called what?
Miss, can you repeat that?
That area, the light doesn't. Yes, I am trying to tell me the term that is used for any subject that now create that dark tone on any surface. For example, if we're standing up and we cast a shadow or have a shadow, a dark tone on the ground, what is that called? What is the term for it?
Miss, is it the cast shadow?
The cast shadow, right? Very good. So oftentimes person will say, okay, we're shading the shadow. But when you use the right term now, you know that the subject actually cast a shadow on the surface. And that is why it's called a cast shadow. All right. And I'm very pleased that everyone has done exceptionally well, knowing that it's the first time attempting the blending technique. I know you missed out on the stippling technique, but I'm going to ask you to watch that presentation and try and attempt it. Paige also shared some of the techniques that we did. I know she wasn't in the last class, but she attempted, and I'm very pleased to see that she did. So I'm going to ask everyone just to continue practice on these shading technique or drawing techniques to make art more realistic. And the more you practice, the better you should get at it. All right, everyone?
Yes, Miss.
Is that
Yes,
clear?
miss.
Great. All right, so do have a productive afternoon. Thank you for making it Art Connect. I'm looking forward to seeing those other shadings and, practice that you will be doing. All right. So until then, remember, don't to be a stranger. I'm always in the WhatsApp group, just waiting for those artworks to be posted. We also have a classroom. So your email address, I'm just going to ask persons to submit it in the WhatsApp group if I've not done so I can add it to the classroom. There's an actual Google Classroom where you can access all the content and video that we're using. But I'm also going to post them in the WhatsApp group so you can readily get them and easily get them to continue practicing on your drawing skill or your shading skills as it is. All right, so bye for
Miss,
now.
can you post the class code inside the WhatsApp group,
Bye,
please?
Miss.
It's time to leave so fast.
Bye. Could you repeat that one?
Miss, I was asking if you could post the class.
We've been here from what time we started?
10 o'clock.
The work? Yes, I will do that. I will definitely do that. All right. Yes, we started from 10 and we finished
But
at
why do I
12,
have to
so we went
reset?
over the time. But that's quite fun. We're online and we're having fun.
Okay.
We'll be back next week though. We're online every Saturday until the session is over. We'll move on to
Bye.
another session. All right.
It's over.
Bye bye.
See
Bye,
you
Miss.
next
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, see you.
Bye, Miss. Bye, everyone.